welcome to Walkabout Town. Let's do this. Welcome to another video for Walkabout Town, and today I'm in Westleigh, as you can probably gather, and yes, we're going to take a look at one of the longest streets on the Trees estate, which of course is Maple Crescent, which of course is the street right behind me here. And yeah, of course this particular street stretches all the way round to the other side. So some people request me to do Maple Crescent. One of our subscribers, and another subscriber has also asked me to do West Horton. Well, don't worry, West Horton video will be coming, but when, I don't know. No. But right now, let's go and take a look at Maple Crescent. Well, of course, Maple Crescent starts here. As this car gets past. Well, Maple Crescent starts here. Yeah, there's a bit of spare land there. I don't know what this was. Spare land. Now, of course, the house has got the apartments on this side, all flats and that. Yeah, which been here since probably around about the 70s. But these houses here were obviously one of the earliest ones built. Yeah. 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 Well, it was one of the earliest ones, I would say, around about mid-1930s or something like that. These are different, of course, they're same style but different design, bigger windows than that. Yeah. Obviously, that was a spare part of land one time when these were built. Yeah. Like I said, I believe those flats have been there since the 70s. They were around. They were certainly here when I was little, anyway. And I used to deliver newspapers there. It was one of my paper runs I used to do. It's amazing when you've not been round on foot for years, when you've not lived here. Well. How it all changes. Yeah. Yeah. Look at it. Quite a long street, isn't it? That's Myrtle Avenue. Oh, no, that's Lilac Avenue there. That's that highway down there. Lilac Avenue. Love it. Yeah. Well, the houses down there are certainly a lot older than these, I guess. Ones down there, I think they were built for the First World War soldiers, I believe. I could be wrong. I don't know. But these houses came around about the 1930s. Or probably early 30s. If anyone can comment below. Yeah, but I was my nan telling me that she always remembered these houses being built when she and her family used to live in Brigg Street, which is just off which of course is just off Westleigh Lane. Yeah. Yeah, of course, this has always been. As far as I know, this was always part of the bus route. Well, down. That's part of Myrtle Avenue, which the other half of Myrtle Avenue, which leads into Briar Grove. That's where my nan used to live. Yeah, that's Myrtle Avenue down there, and that's Oregon House. Yeah, Oregon House, I believe, has been there since the late 70s. No, how far back it goes. But there you are. Well, Mm. Yeah. 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 I always remember they used to hold functions there, you know, where I actually got to sit on a horse. Yeah. There was some sort of, you know, those little functions they have at these places. You know, do for charity runs and that. Yeah. One of the many side streets, state. Maple Crescent. Yeah, as you notice the house, as you get to the, of course here, it's part of Maple Crescent. The original sign is still there on that building, but of course then they built these. These are slightly smaller than the ones we just passed. Yeah, because remember, these type of houses were a little smaller, which means they were one of the next to be built around here. There were many houses like this, of this design, all over Leigh. You know, in fact, you can find these up Abbey Lane way, on even off Warrington Road, and yeah, they even have them on the Madeleine estate. Was it the Pennington estate? Yeah, they even have them there. There's all houses of this design. So obviously these were built by the Leigh Corporation, you know, a long time ago. You know, it was Leigh Corporation that probably had something to do with the build of these. Some of these houses that have been bought privately have had new windows placed in, you know, bay windows like this. Big windows. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I'm going to continue running this film because it's going to be quite a long film too. There's the old bus route. Yeah, this used to be the bus route of the 595. Remembers that one? Yeah, not long ago actually, because when Jim Stones ceased operation, I think the 595 stopped after that. Yeah, B Network took over, and well, I don't think they even do buses up to Abbey Lane anymore. Probably, well, not actually going on the estates, no. This is the other half of Maple Crescent. This was one of many streets I used to deliver journal newspapers. I used to deliver to the street. The technique I used to use was just crisscross to get done quicker. It was the quickest way to do it, really. Yeah, some would go one side and then do the other, but it turned out to be quicker, just keep crisscrossing the streets, that kind of thing. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, of course, you get some people who moaned the paper was a bit soggy. Well, of course, it had been raining, but that's how they are. The street just bends around. No? Yeah. Yeah. Like I say, these houses seem to be slightly smaller than the ones that we passed earlier. You know, these are slightly different design to the others, although the shape of the roofs is the same. Yeah, it is rumoured that it is said that there was that one of the houses along this street actually got bombed during the Second World War, and of course, I've heard many people talk about this. Now, of course, Manan has talked about this incident. In fact, she recalls a time when a woman who was sharing the shelter with them went in to get her baby's things because they were still inside the house, and of course, it was unfortunate the house got hit by one of the bombs. Yeah, it would be along this stretch. In fact, I do believe it was one of the houses at the very end. I believe. I don't know. It was one. It was along here, but one of the houses got hit. Well, I don't know what the total damage was, but you can only guess. Yeah. Maple. Maple Crescent. There's some restoration work. There's it. Doing some pointing. I think he'll go issues. Yeah. Of course, another thing about around here is that, like a lot of council property around here, they had driveways put in during the 2000s, about 2004, and this was the idea to, have people park the cars in their own front garden rather than being parked in the street, which I think was actually a good idea, because you never know, some idiot might, it was a good idea, because parking would always be difficult, but I'm very glad they changed that. Yeah, obviously that's blocked off, so no car can go down. Yeah, well, these apartments have been here pretty much similar to the ones that were passed earlier on at the other end of Maple Crescent. Yeah, well, there's the bypass, and there used to be Westleigh Station. It was right there. Of course, I recall for years that when I was little, the road, Westbourne Avenue, did go right through for a while, but of course that changed again. It went back to being split in two again when the bypass came in. Of course, it was split in two before, when it was a railway line. There used to be a station in between. Yeah, well, this is the grass village. I always remember where that bench is now. Of course, used to be a phone box around about there. Remember that phone box? Yeah, so now this street takes you right around, doesn't it? It doesn't take all that long to come round this estate, really. Yeah. Yeah. So there goes from him. There's Hazel Grove. Yeah. The thing about these side streets, they're very narrow. Yeah. You often wondered how on earth large vehicles get down here. Cool. I always remember this used to be a through road, but obviously they've blocked it off here some time ago. I don't know how long ago that's been like that. But there you are. So, obviously bicycles can still get through, of course. Obviously, dumped down to the bottom end now. Yeah, as I say, Maple Crescent is a pretty long street. Of course, for the most part, like here and at the other end, it's just houses on one side, while the other side is just like going off into side streets. And that. Yeah. But I think you are going to do the trees estate, you might as well start here, aren't you? Yeah. That's one street that's not been blocked off by gates. Well, one back entry, I mean. As I recall, before the bypass was built, I was remember as kids, we used to come down this way, Maple Crescent, and, this before the bypass was built, there used to be this little dirt track you could actually go through, and you could take a shortcut. You could take a shortcut through there at one time. There used to be a dirt track that used to go over because, it was an abandoned railway line. The rails had been taken up, so yeah. But of course, they blocked that off again. The bypass came about 10 years. Well, going back 40 years now. Yeah. Here we come to another street now. Is this... Oh, is this still classed as Maple Crescent? I think this is still Maple Crescent. Don't know, it doesn't sign saying what it is. Walking in the middle of the bloody road here like a goon. Yeah, 20 miles an hour. I come to the other part of Maple Crescent now, I believe. Yep, it's still Maple Crescent. In fact, this street goes right round and brings you onto Bright Street. Yeah. Now, of course, those bungalows there, those bungalows and those houses, I remember being built back in the day. Yeah. Yeah, I was only a toddler in a pram. And I always remember my room to watch the diggers do their thing. You know, so I do recall them being built. Yeah. But here we are on Bright Street. Yeah, of course, Maple Crescent brings you out onto Bright Street. Yeah. The grass verge there, of course, there's the factory, Victoria Foods, which always make cake mixes. But of course, we're going to walk back up here now. And, well, right. It's a good one. It makes a good bracing walk, doesn't it? Yeah. Westleigh. Yeah. Westleigh. Of course, as you can see, that again, they've it's one of these barriers they've put up here. I'm not really certain how long ago they actually put these up. I'm not sure if I was actually still living on this estate when they put these up, because I last lived on this estate in 2006. Of course, I moved over to Quayside and then stayed there for the next, well, for the next 10 or 12, next 10 to 12 years. Yeah, cool. Yeah. So, yeah, all this pretty much blocked off. I think it was to stop the boy races. But of course, people still use their bikes now. The other side of Westleigh Grove. There's a bungalow available. Although I'm actually looking to go and live up Lowton. But hopefully a bungalow will come there. But you know, it'd be nice to live up Lowton again. You know. But there you are. Of course, the street right in front of us, which is Crown Green Close, is in fact named because of the Crown Green bowling that used to be there. It was just part of the St Paul's Labour Club that used to be on this site. Yeah. Of course, such places like Labour clubs, Conservative clubs, and whatnot are all dying out now. You know, there's absolutely nothing left. It's all gone. Let's go and move to the other. Well, we've shown you Maple Crescent. Let's show another part of Westleigh, shall we? Well, of course, here are the other part of the trees estate here. Of course, the back end of Maple Crescent. Well, it's nice with all this landscape in here, isn't it? Yeah, because I always recall these used to be garages. They're not here anymore, of course, they've been taken down. The only thing with these garages, they weren't very wide, really. I think they were really built for small cars in mind. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, so what other street shall we go up now? Well, let's go up this way. Up, yeah, which is Cedar Road. I'm not doing it at side streets, you know, what's the point? So there's some old friends that used to live along here. My old pals from St Paul's Junior School. Of course, yes. We've got families of their own now. Yeah, used to be one of these. Yeah. I always remember back in the day, it was like, you know, everyone here on the trees estates it was close, a very rather close community. Everyone looked out for one another. Cherry Grove, you know. Yeah, I could always recall once there was a girl who was a bit lost and couldn't find her way back, and we all helped her. Of course, then we all helped her out find where she would live in, and you know, yeah. Yeah. Yes, I remember that. I always remember that because that's what people did back then, you know. Everybody helped each other, especially in estates like this. Yeah. Which is, of course, I'm not holding the selfie stick because it, you know, it becomes obvious. It's Walnut Grove. Yes, it's probably gathered that it's not called the Trees Estate for nothing. Because, it became known as the Trees Estate later on. But the reason for this is because, all the street names are all to do with naming different types of trees. You know, you've got cedar, you've got hazelnut, you've got hazelnut grove, well, you got Hazel Grove, Walnut Grove, Cherry Grove, and that kind of thing. Yeah, Cedar Road, which is what we're on now. Yeah. And here we come into Larch Road. Goes up Willow Crescent, which is round there, which goes right round. We're not going down that street. Just focusing on those houses were, of course these houses would have probably been built around the late 1960s. Yeah, I always recall them being here when I was little. Yeah, I always remember there was a family called the Walsh that used to live in one of these end houses. Now I seem to recall they used to have an orange Datsun. But you're like a hatchback type car. There was a hatchback version, with the sloping roof at the back. Yeah, one of those. Nice little, Mind you, Datsuns were known to be rubbish though. But this is Larch Road. Yeah. Well, down there is Laberman Avenue. Yeah. We'll go take a look. It's Laberman Avenue. This was, it's just mainly, Laberman Avenue is just mainly houses on this side really, because on the other side is all side streets. Yeah, mainly. Yeah, because, in fact, there's only one side street off Laberman Avenue actually, because the back entrance. Yeah. I just remember. I just remember as kids, we used to have fun racing our bikes down to the bottom of the lamppost. So, those were the days. Yeah. There's the house there with the big, because even with the big tree coming out of the garden, I used to live in that house a long time ago. Which is number 31 Laurel Grove. Yeah, a lot of people thought it was actually on the Laberman Avenue because, where the gate is situated. Yeah, Laurel Grove, so kind of a bit confusing, really. Yeah, it's all overgrown since, obviously a bit more privacy. And that. Yeah, of course, I always recall the garden, of course the garden never had a garage when we were there. Of course, no ball games in this area. Yep, so you can't go playing football, no ball games allowed. Well, last thing you want is anyone kicking the ball over the wall. It was always a common thing. Yeah, well this back entry has never been locked up. Was it? It's never been locked up. It's never had gates on it, so I don't know. I wonder why that was. Most of the most of the places around the Trees Estate do have gates, like everywhere else, but the back of Laurel Grove, Briar Grove, doesn't. So, yeah. Damn, shocking. Yeah, we're coming into Briar Grove now. So, take a look. Briar Grove. This is where my grandma. So my nan and her living room, also her pension years. My nan and granddad. Yeah. Yes. I just recall, back in the early 80s, these streets, all the curbs were raised. They put fresh tarmac down, re-tarmac, but resurfaced the road. I always remember that. It was around about 1982, and why I remember that so fondly is because in because 1982, Channel 4 was on. We just redecorated the house, fresh paint, and yes, this estate was being revamped. Yeah, of course. And I just remember two road sweepers doing their thing, which obviously weren't council road sweepers. It's Briar Grove. Just past the house where my nan and granddad used to live. Well, of course, that was where they were living when they were in their elderly years. Last place they went to live was in Birch Road. That's where that was their last residence. Before they passed away. Before they passed. Yes. Now we're going to go into Lime Avenue. So a lot of these houses that have been bought privately have had extensions put to them. As you can see with that one at the very end there. Yeah. So there's an extension. What they've done. In fact, it looks like they've even remodeled the house too. By the look of it. Yeah. We're going up Lilac Avenue now. Yeah. Of course, I could show the whole of the estate, but I'm not going to do that. So we're just going to do this. Say, if this is the top half of the back entry, look, no gates. That was because it was impossible to do. I don't know. Yeah, it's probably where the walls are aligned, really. Yeah, and imagine that was the reason why that is. Yeah, Lilac Avenue. Well, we're going to go into my old street now, Laurel Grove, because as you pointed out, it was living on the very end on the corner. But of course, remember on one side it's just one long row of terrace houses, but on this side there's two rows of terrace houses, and you got three actually. You got three. One's like 3, and some like 4. Yeah. Got 3 rows of terrace houses on the there's 2 on that side. One's like on an angle. Yeah. I always remember number 9. Because number 9 is where Roman family grew up when they were kids. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. It's always nice I always think it's always nice to return to a place you grew up when you were as a kid, and that. Whereas the Gibsons used to live around here. Well, you still see one of them around. Come into the shop now and then. Yeah. It was a close, like I say, it was a close community. You know, we'd have banters with each other and that kind of thing. You know, I remember the Irvins used to live there. Yeah, Lynn Irvin and her family. Yeah. In fact, of course, you can check out Westleigh Kids 70s and 80s on the Facebook, because that's for those who grew up in Westleigh, you could check that out. So be sure to check Westleigh Kids on Facebook. I imagine it is still running. Yeah, a bit closer. And, well, of course, that was a video on Westleigh, the Trees Estate, starting with Maple Crescent, and that. So, of course, if you like this video, don't forget, like and subscribe to Centuri, and don't forget to tick the bell for more notifications for future videos. So, we'll see you next time on another one. Bye.